Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi Nedarim Ayin Vav. We begin right on top with the words Amos Sefer. Let's backtrack a bit. We had a Mishnah which tells us that although a husband can either confirm or disrupt his wife's neder, when it comes to hakama, reinforcing, confirming that neder, that must take place post neder. She already made the neder. I'm the husband, I hear, I confirm it. But you cannot confirm in advance. That's a given. Why? Well, you don't really know what it's about. There is a lack of smichas da'as, a lack of true intention. And as the Ran says, well, the neder is not yet here to be reinforced. Okay, so that's a given. What about hafara, pre-neder? Can a person preempt his wife's neder? He says, look, any of your Nedarim going forward is disrupted. Chachamim say nothing doing. Just as hakama takes place after the neder was said, likewise hafara. Rabbi Yehuda says, what do you mean? If you can disrupt an existing neder, don't you think you can disrupt a neder which has not yet been activated? You can preempt a neder. You can prevent a neder from arriving, of course. And that was one of the arguments that Rabbi Yehuda used to support his position, that a hafara does indeed work ahead of time. And the Chacham disagreed. Now we had a question. True, according to Rabbi Yehuda, you can do hafara in advance. In which case, when she makes the neder, it is now disrupted. It becomes nullified as a result of that existing hafara. Question is, technically speaking, what are the mechanics of this process? Because he made that hafara in advance, will that prevent her neder from actually ever landing? It's not chal at all. It doesn't become activated. Or shall we say, it gets activated but it immediately expires, because it's shot down by that pre-existing hafara. Two ways to look at it. Not just a theoretical debate. There is an actual halachic ramification. Nafkamina is for atvasa. Should another person use that neder that she made as a source for his new neder, hatvasa? I'm going to be a nazar just like she committed to be a nazar. So it depends how you look at it. If her commitment never took off because the hafara disallowed it from actually taking place, from actually being chal, then she never had any commitment going, even for a split second. There's no room for hatfasa, so you can't use that as a source for any subsequent neder. But if we should understand that the neder does actually arrive for a split second and then gets undone by that hafara, then at least for that moment there was a neder in the world, in which case another person can use that phenomena as a source for his coming neder. That's called hatfasa. So which way is it? We weren't really sure. We tried to prove it one way and the other, and we're actually right in the middle of a brisa which begins with the Chachamim telling Rabbi Yehuda, what do you mean? Just because hafara works later, it should work before? Take a look at a mikvah. It can remove tumah which already exists, but it can't insulate a person from future tumah. So suppose he goes to the mikvah today and says, look, going forward I want to be protected from tumah, so that the tumah never arrives, never affects me. That doesn't work. It would seem from this conversation that in fact Rabbi Yehuda maintains that hafara prevents, doesn't allow the neder through the door. And the Chachamim sought to disprove that by way of the mikvah argument. Just like over there you can't do that, you can't prevent tumah from actually arriving by way of pre-immersion in a mikvah. Likewise over here, the pre-hafara cannot prevent the neder from arriving. It would seem from this argument, according to Rabbi Yehuda, the neder never arrives. Amos Sefer. Let's proceed to the second part of the brisa. Says the Gemara on Ayin Vav Amud Aleph. where in fact it would seem that the mechanics work a bit differently. Even according to Rabbi Lezer's pre-Hafara system, pre-Neder Hafara system, it doesn't prevent the Neder from arriving at all. It arrives, but then it expires. Furthermore, the Chachamim respond to Rabbi Lezer. We're going to disprove your notion by way of the following argument. Just because you can take a kli which is already tamei and toss it into the mikvah to remove its tumah, yatbilu kli tahar. Can you then take a kli which is not yet tamei, a perfectly pure kli, put it into the mikvah to insulate it from further tumah, litar likeshi yatame litar, so that when it becomes tamei, the previous immersion in mikvah should go ahead and remove the new tumah? You can't do that. We all know you can't do that. And therefore, in your case as well, you can't use the power of Hafara at this early stage. So although Hafara can remove an existing neder, just like Tevila in the mikveh can remove tumah which already exists, but the Hafara expressed prior to the neder can't really affect any future neder, just like taking a kli, which is tar, immersing it in the mikveh, will not affect the kli when the tumah actually arrives. It won't have any effect. It won't be able to remove it going down the road. Shema minasa, from this back and forth, from this argument, we seem to see that in fact the Chachamim understood that according to Rabbi Lezer, the neder does arrive, but then is shot down by the Hafara, just like the equation with the mikveh. The parallel to the mikveh would be that the tefillah ahead of time can actually affect the upcoming tumah and remove it once it arrives. Shema meno chaylan, apparently it does arrive. So the truth is, we seem to have a contradiction within the Bryce. Here we say it's chal, and earlier we said the Hafara would actually prevent it from walking through the door. Amri, the Bnei Yeshiva responded, Rabbanon leikaimi lahan b'taima de Rabbi Lezer. The truth is, Rabbanon were not exactly clear on what exactly Rabbi Lezer's true position was, and therefore they covered all the bases. If you meant it this way, here's the argument against that. If you meant it the other way, here's the argument against that. And they told him as follows: My svirlach, what exactly is your position? What exactly do you want to accomplish with this hafara ahead of time? If you meant that the neder will arrive, but it becomes batal because it is negated by that pre-existing hafara, well, if that's your argument, we'll use the parallel kli argument, the mikvah argument, to refute that position. We'll disprove this idea. You can't insulate something ahead of time, so that when the time comes, it will have the power to remove a tumah. Well, on the other hand, if you never meant it this way, you meant that the hafara, which predated the neder, will prevent the neder from actually arriving at all. If that's your argument, we have another counterclaim to that, to have a mikveh to yuftich, the mashal from the mikveh, where the fellow would go into the mikveh, expecting that to protect him from any future tumah. That will be your refutation, because just as we see over there, being toil in a mikveh will never protect a person from future tumah. So he's trying to have the tefillah protect him so that tumah never arrives. It doesn't do that. Likewise by hafara. So the truth is, we're not really sure what Rabbi Lezer had in mind. They were just covering all possibilities, all the bases. Tashma, here comes another raya. The raya is going to prove that according to Rabbi Lezer, when you do the hafara before the neder, the hafara prevents the neder from arriving at all. Amar lahem Rabbi Lezer. Rabbi Lezer responds to the Chachamim. I'm going to prove my case. Look, you have a plant which happens to be tummy. Kivan shazoron bekarka. What happens if you put it back into the ground? That's like a bittul. It's like a nullification to the earth. Tehayrin. We learn from a pasuk. Al kol zera zerua asher yizareyak toiru, as the Iran brings. Once it's back in the ground, it becomes part of the earth. It's batal. It's toher. It loses its tumah. So you see that zriya can remove an existing tumah. Zruin va'imdim loy kol shken. Certainly, this concept would apply to something which is currently already in the ground. Meaning, when you have a plant which is currently growing, of course, it is totally insulated and protected from tumah. Right? So this proves my point, says Rabbi Lezer. This phenomena, this zriya bakarka, can remove an existing tumah. Certainly, it can protect it from future tumah. And the Ran says it seems to be that it's a davar pashat. It's this idea is universally acknowledged that a plant which is still in the ground is protected from tumah. So this proves my point, says Rabbi Lezer. Shema min aloi chaylan. Oh, so apparently Rabbi Lezer was trying to support the notion that the pre-existing afara will prevent any neder from arriving at all. Just like the planting in the ground will protect it from tumah. It's not like it arrives and then it dissipates. It never arrives. Asks the Gemara. So what do the Rabbanan respond to this argument? Rabbanan leidarshi kal v'chaymer. Why the Rabbanan even argue? Why are they disagreeing with this concept? They also seem to actually support this idea that when something has the ability to work after the fact, it certainly can work in a prevention mode, as we find Votanya, we find in a brisa, Yochel Yimkur Adam es Bita Kshinar. We know that although a father has the ability to sell his daughter as a maidservant, but once she turns, an adult, she has, simanim, 12 years old, she goes free. So the Brisa says like this: perhaps a father can actually sell his daughter once she reaches the nara stage. The answer is no, of course not. Mechura. Suppose she was already sold as a ketana. What happens when she turns adult? Kvar yoitza. The halach is she can leave. Right? Like it says in the pasuk, once she becomes an adult, she leaves. Eino mechura. So now, suppose she's already an adult and had not yet been sold. In addition to machar, doesn't it lend to reason that you can't sell her? She can't be sold at that point. Look, if she would have been sold, she goes free. So adulthood. Lets her go free. Certainly, it's going to prevent her from being sold. And even the Rabbanon hold of this kal v'chaymer. So what about hafaras nedarim? Why can't they apply the same kal v'chaymer? You can use hafara after the fact. Of course, you can use it ahead of the fact, ahead of the event, to prevent the neder from being chal. In, says the Gemara, you're right, 100% right. In terms of svara, in terms of logic, ba'al mod darshi kal v'chaymer, typically chachamim, even they would agree. You can apply this way of thinking. What about hafaras nedarim? V'shani hacha. Here it's totally different. We have a pasuk, a hekesh. The Torah compares, connects. Hakama to hafara. Isha yikimenu, v'isha yifirenu. We learn from here. Hafara follows the course of hakama. Eshabu klal hakem, a neder which is a candidate for reinforcement, for confirmation, for hakama, meaning a neder which was already expressed. Likewise, the flip side is hafara can affect it as well. But a neder which is still in the works has not yet been expressed. In which case you can't do a come on that. That's a given. Likewise, hafar wouldn't be effective on that future neder as well. So the bottom line is, as the Ran explains, we were figuring that, the whole argument back and forth was based on svara. Do we say the kal v'chemer or not? Bottom line is, although we may have kal v'chemers and svaris, the Chachamim use this drasha to disallow a hafara in advance of a neder. So on the topic of hafaras nedarim, how soon after the neder must a husband make hafaras nedarim? Hafaras nedarim kol hayom. You have until the end of the day to make hafaras nedarim. And the Ran says, Yom HaShmiyah, meaning suppose she made the neder on Sunday, and husband only heard on Wednesday. So Wednesday is his Yom HaShmiyah, the day that he experienced the neder, when he was aware of the neder. He has that entire day to counter that neder. Now, sometimes it works out for better or for worse. If it's a short day, it's a short-lived opportunity. If it's a long day, well, if you heard the night before, he has a full 24 hours. Yesh bedavar lahakal lahachmer. And the Ran says, the lashon kula and chumra isn't necessarily, the point here. The point is that sometimes you have a long period, sometimes it's a very short-lived opportunity. All depends when you heard it. The neder. Ketzat, for instance, nadra b'leil Shabbos. She made a neder Friday night. So you have basically 24 hours. You have the night and the next day. Yafra b'leil Shabbos, ubiyama Shabbos, asher techshach. The husband can do hafara that night and the next day until nightfall. But nadrim chashecha, suppose she made a neder right before nightfall. You got just a couple of minutes there. Mefer asher techshach. Quickly, you can do the hafaras nedarim before it gets dark. Shim chashecha, because once it darkens, without him doing the hafara, eina yachal hafar, it's too late. Tanya will learn to the Bryce. Hafaras nedarim kol hayom. So the ability to do hafaras nedarim extends until the end of the day. Sometimes it could be 24 hours, sometimes it could be 2 minutes, until the end of that day. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Lezer, Shimon, Amru, they disagree. They are chaylik on the Mishnah, and they hold meis leis. It's a 24-hour privilege. Today 9 o'clock to tomorrow 9 o'clock. It's not this day based, it's 24-hour based. My time at the Tanakama. Why does the Tanakama maintain that it depends on that day? It's not a 24-hour based privilege. Pasuk says he must interfere during the day that he heard. Until the end of the day, no more. V'rabbanan my tamayu, as opposed to the El Chachamim, where are they coming from? The Chsiv, miyayim al yayim. That he has the ability to be mefer. Miyayim al yayim, which means me'es la'es. The Ran says, Shir sheyesh ben tchila asuyim echad, v'tchila asuyim achar, dahainu esrim v'arba ashois, 24-hour period. The amount of time, the amount of hours between beginning of today's day and the beginning of tomorrow's day. It's a 24-hour window. What does Tanakama do with this pasuk, which sounds like it's a 24-hour cycle? Istrich, he needs it as follows. The truth is, hafara can only be done on the day of, no more. But if only the words b'yayim shamay, havamin, I would say b'yimama in b'leil yiloi, that the husband is limited to daytime. You cannot do hafara at night for whatever reason. That's what the pasuk stresses. No, you can do it any time. Miyayim el yayim, throughout the night, throughout the next day, throughout a 24-hour cycle. So it's not really a 24-hour cycle. It's only the day of. But the point is that if it so happens to be that she made the neder at the beginning, of today, meaning as soon as night arrived, which is the tchilas halayla, the tchila of this this unit, this night day unit, you have throughout the night and the next day, and that's what the Torah is alluding to with the words miyayim al yayim, to indicate that you can at times do it at night. There's nothing preempting a person from hafara at night. Now let's switch over to the other sheet that Miyam El Yom teaches us. It's always a 24-hour window. What about the pasuk which indicates that it's only that day, whether 20 hours or 2 minutes, until the end of the day? Istrich, we need that pasuk as well. Truthfully, it's a 24-hour privilege, but the Iksiv Miyam El Yom, if only from the pasuk Miyam El Yom, I would say Mechad B'Shaba L'Chad B'Shaba Leiferla. Wow, it's a 7-day privilege. Miyam El Yom means from today until the same day next week, from Sunday to Sunday, or from Monday to Monday. So Mechad B'Shaba literally means Sunday to Sunday, but the Ran says basically any day of the week would qualify. Basically, it's a full week of Afara. If it would say Miyayim El Yom, from one day to the next, from a Monday to a Monday. That's why it says B'yayim Shamay to indicate, no, you're limited to one day, but a full day, a 24-hour window. Amar B'Shimon Pazi, Amar B'Shimon Levi, Ein Halacha K'Isa Zug. The halacha does not follow the pair of Chachamim, the Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon, who held that it was a 24-hour privilege. Rather, it needs to be done on the day of. Levi, Savar, he thought L'me'avid Kaneh Tanoi. He figured he'll follow the Shita of the two Tanoim, that a husband has 24 hours. Amar le Rav, so Rav responded to him, Hachi Amar Chavivi. Chavivi was Rabbi Chia, Rav's uncle. He told us, Ein halacha k'isa zug. The halacha does not paskin like that. Shita, rather, the hafara must be done on the day of. Continues the Gemara. Chia bar Rav. Chia, the son of Rav, Shadi Gira Ubadik. When he was approached by a fellow who needed Hataras Nedarim, he didn't take it. He didn't make it into such a formal event. He would shoot his arrows and question the person as he was doing it. Rabbi Bar Huna Yosef Ekoim, he would sit down and get up, a by the way type of thing. It wasn't such a formal setting, and the Ran explains because they held, there are two ways to undo a neder. You can do it with a simple charata, a regret. Look, I wasn't really mindful, I wasn't focused. And that's a rather easy way out of the nether. You don't need much concentration and focus on that. And that's what they held, as opposed to the other shita, which requires more of a true investigation. Analyzing the facts and the details and the equation that that was involved, and trying to discover something that he may have overlooked and turn it into a toast. That's a more serious, formal type of approach. But they didn't hold to that. They required merely charata, in which case they did it in a very informal manner. So what do we learn today? We referred back to the machlokes between Rabbi Lezer and the Chachamim. So all agree you can't do hakama before the nether happens, but hafara, Rabbi Lezer says yes. Chachamim say no, based on the hekesh, where hafara is comparable to hakama. A husband has the ability to do hafaras nedarim on his wife's nether. For how long? Some hold you can do it for 24 hours, and others held b'yom shamay dafka, only the day of, and that's how we paskin. Maybe we all have much hatzlacha, b'suras tovas. Be well.